Hi, welcome to Lynn's Romance Reads. I'm Lynn, and this is my August wrap-up. So, it is currently August 29th. I probably will not pick up something that I can finish in the last 2 days of August, but if I do, I'll talk about it briefly in my September wrap-up. So, my statistics are I read 15 books, 5 stars, 5 4.5 stars, and 5 4 stars. So no 3.5s or 3 stars, so that's pretty good. I read 3 contemporary, 1 fantasy, 2 historical, 1 paranormal, and 8 sci-fi/alien romances. Of those, 5 of which were audiobooks that I read. So we're gonna just talk about these in chronological order. I do not want to have to deal with reordering them, so we're literally just gonna go in order that I read them. So first off, we had the Romance Takeover Readathon. So I started that by reading Viper by Naomi Lukas. This was a 4-star read. This premise is it's kind of a dystopian future. Humans have fled Earth because of a war with this alien race, and generations have passed, and now they're in war with a different alien race, and so they've come back to Earth to try and get technology from the race that they were originally fighting a war against. And in doing that, there is now a new race of alien species living on Earth that are the Nagas, and they negotiate with the humans for all of the females, and it follows our hero and heroine as they're in a forced proximity, fated mate situation, where the hero's very convinced that our heroine is his, and she's like, I did not sign up to be given to an alien race as a bride. So it was really good. I had some issues with their connection. It just wasn't as strong as some other alien romances that I have read in the past. And so 4 stars. Next, I read Freeing Luka by Victoria Aveline. This is book 2 in the Quotient series. In this series, our hero Luka works in research trying to find cures for the fertility issues of the Quotients. And there is a subset of that population of these researchers that have been doing ethically and immoral experimentations. And so he goes undercover to try and put a stop to it, and he gets captured. And our heroine has been kidnapped from Earth for this fertility experimentation. And as she's being led to her cell, the people who have them in captivity realize that Luka and our heroine are mates. And so they put them together in captivity together, and they end up escaping together, and then they have to determine how to live out of captivity together, knowing that they are fated mates. So this one was a 4.5 star. It was a really strong read. There was some miscommunication and cultural clash that I just wasn't in love with, and I felt was handled a lot better in book 1 in this series, but very, very enjoyable. And book 3, Saving Verico, is on my September TBR. Next, I read The Duke and I by Julia Quinn, the Bridgerton #1, on audio while I was driving. This is still part of the Romance Takeover Readathon. And this was also a 4.5 star for me. I really enjoyed seeing the juxtaposition of the book to the Netflix adaptation. If you haven't heard what Bridgerton's about, Daphne is number 4 in the line of Bridgerton children, and she is in her season, and she is being courted, and she really wants a reprieve from all of the matchmaking efforts. And she gets introduced to one of her brother's friends, Simon, a duke, and fake dating relationship in order to kind of put everyone at bay. And then they end up getting they get compromised and married. And there's some very the main conflict is not their connection, but rather Simon's desire to never be a father, and a lot of past regarding how his father raised him. I thought overall Julia Quinn created a much stronger conflict and plot than the Netflix adaptation. But for me personally, the writing choice behind that one sex scene just didn't quite work for me, and the conflict about Simon not wanting to be a father, that just didn't quite work for me. So it was 4.5 stars. I enjoyed the entire reading experience, but just a couple nitpicky things. Then I picked up Throttled by Lauren Asher. This is book 1 in the Dirty Air Formula 1 series. So this is the story behind Noah and Maya. And so Maya has just graduated from college and is kind of taking a gap year to follow her big brother, or her brother, around the Formula 1 circuit, following him across the country. And she's trying to get a lifestyle vlog up and running. And so it ends up being a vlog about behind the scenes of Formula 1. Well, Maya's brother, Santi, and Noah got in this huge crash 2 years ago. And they have just been put on the same team. And so there's a rivalry going on, and Maya and Noah become friends, and then they start having a relationship together. But the main conflict is how they're hiding this from Maya's brother, Santi. There's also a conflict with Noah's family and how they raised him and how they continue to be in his life that I felt just wasn't quite what I wanted it to be. It was a 4-star read, just a little disappointing. So after that, I was feeling a little slumpy. So I went to my slump busting author, Ruby Dixon, and I picked up Bad Guy. This is a standalone romance within her overall world, but I felt it read really well as a standalone. So this is following a gladiator that is in captivity, and he wakes up very confused, and as a result of his confusion, he trashes his cage. And there's a human slave at this facility that's job is to come in and clean up after him. And he really is intrigued by this human woman. And so he keeps trashing his room so that she can come and clean it up. And eventually he forces his owners, or his employers, to give her to him so that he can protect her and care for her. And it's them trying to find a way to escape and be together while both in this enslaved / captivity situation. There's a content warning for slavery that's pretty well depicted. So anyway, they end up escaping, and it's about how our hero comes to have an identity separate from the gladiator persona that they expect him to have. And that was a 5-star read for me as well. Next, I picked up The Nightmare by Regina Abel. This is book 2 in the Mist world. We follow up with some characters that we've known, and basically our heroine has been recruited to act as for a job within the Mist regulatory body, and they're not 100% sure at the start of the book what she's been recruited for. until it becomes clear that they want her because she has a nightmare that is stalking her and has protected her in the past. And what they do, it's her relationship being built with her nightmare and how they are fighting against the serial killer that was made from the nightmare of a person that is becoming highly dangerous. So this one was very interesting. It's definitely more of an anti-hero feeling, and for that reason, I enjoyed the first book, The Mistwalker, much better, because that's more of a traditional hero position, or a more traditional hero with a hero personality. So, but it was still very good. I can't remember if I gave it 4.5 or 5 stars, but it was a strong book for me. Then I read The Kiss Quotient on audio by Helen Hoang. This follows our heroine that is autistic, who has basically decided that she needs lessons in seduction, and so she hires a male escort to teach her how to be good at sex. And this morphs into figuring out how to be in a relationship, and she ends up falling in love with the hero that she has, this escort that she's hired to help her both improve sexually and in relationships. And they have to address the shame that our hero feels about his profession, and also how to get past the initial power dynamic that they have. And that was, I believe, a 5-star read for me. It was really well done. After that, I picked up Barbarian's Choice, which is Ice Planet Barbarians number 11. And I will say, Ice Planet Barbarians is not a book you can pick up any book in any order. You have to read it all the way through. Ava's Romance Books, Ava, has an amazing reading order guide, which is based off of the order that the main Ice Planet Barbarian books were published in. In this one, we finally get Farley's story. Previously, Farley has been kind of in her teenage years, but it's been about two to 4 years since our last Ice Planet Barbarian books. Farley has grown up, and she is being courted for the potential of being a pleasure mate by about 3 or 4 men in the tribe currently. And she's really just trying to get away. So she takes her pet Tavesti, Chompy, with her out hunting, and she comes across a spaceship that has crash landed on their planet and is doing repairs. And she immediately resonates to one of the aliens who is of her same species of alien that is out working on the mechanics. And so it becomes this big question of, these are people that weren't ever going to stay here, and these aliens have to ask the question, what do we do with the civilization that had on this uninhabited planet that we thought? Do we take them and bring them back to our community? Do we leave them? What do we do with them? Whereas Farley is like, has to decide, do I want to leave everything I know to go with them, or because her hero, Marduk, is pretty adamant that he doesn't want to stay, and she has to ask the question of, can I leave everything for him? And so it's very interesting. I really enjoyed it. So this was 4.5 stars. I really didn't love that how Farley was expected to leave. I was really hoping for Marduk to do a little bit more personal growth and evaluation and come to the decision that he didn't have to leave much earlier. So that was my one little gripe with that one. And then I went straight into Barbarian's Redemption, which is book number 12. This one is Beck's redemption arc. So Beck previously was pleasure mates with Claire, and their personalities just didn't jive. And Beck was very overbearing and very impatient with Claire, and we really see him act in poorly towards Claire. And later on we see how he starts to apologize, realize the wrongs of his ways in some of the novellas. But in this book, he goes behind his tribe and asks the Marduk's crew from the previous book, so the people that have come temporarily to Not Hoth, to bring back human slaves so that the remaining males in the tribe can have mates. And so it's his story of redemption with Ellie, who is arguably one of the most broken by slavery in the alien world. She doesn't bathe because if she smells bad, then people stay away from her. And she doesn't eat because she has been poisoned by masters in the past. And so it's really about how we see him growing as a character to care for Ellie because she has been so traumatized by her past, and how she learns to trust Beck to be her rock in this world. I also was reading The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. This is book 2 in the Bridgerton. This is Anthony's story. He's Bridgerton number 1, so he's the oldest. He has the title of Viscount, and his heroine is Kate. And so Kate is from a poor family, and she and her sister are coming out in the same year, and they are really focusing on Kate's sister as going to marry to save the family. And so Anthony originally starts courting Edwina, Kate's sister, because she was deemed to be the incomparable or the best of the season. But Kate, being the older sister, is really protective of Edwina, and so she goes head to head with Anthony a bunch in order to protect Edwina's heart. Sorry about that. I have something baking. So anyway, so this works until Kate and Anthony are caught in a compromising situation and are forced to marry. And this was also just a very fun, cute historical. I read it on audio and I really enjoyed it. It was, I believe, 5 stars, maybe 4.5. Let's see. It's 4.5 stars. Going back to Ice Planet Barbarians, I read Barbarian's Lady, which is number 13. This is Kate and Hark. So Kate and Hark. So Hark is such a sunshine, and he is very excited to have Kate. We see very quickly in his point of view, he's so excited that Kate is a big and robust woman, because she's more along the size of Farley, and so he's very happy that he doesn't have to worry about breaking her. He's a bit of a klutz, but Kate is also very insecure about her size, and so when he comes up to her very excitedly about her size, she feels very defensive. And so it's Hark having to convince Kate that he actually cares for her and he's not like picking on her, and it's a sign of his care for her that he really appreciates her size. And there's some cute moments. This is one where they have a callback to the original kidnappings, where Hark leads Kate away from the group and they get to spend time together in the caves. And so that was a fun aspect of it. I gave it 4.5 stars because I found that the plus size representation, or the how Kate talked about herself, to be a little lacking. I I've read the Half-Orc's Maiden Bride, that's also by Ruby Dixon, and I found overall that to be a much better representation of a large woman discussion and her body and stuff like that. I am above average height myself, and so I found the Half-Orc's Maiden Bride to be a much better example of that than this book, and so it was a 4.5 star for me. But they were still adorable together, and you can't go wrong with Ice Planet Barbarian books. So after that, I picked up Love Bites by Cynthia St. Aubin. This is the first in a trilogy following the same couple, which I did not know. So I gave it 4 stars, partly for that reason. So this follows our main heroine, who is kind of down on her luck. She just got divorced, and is really in a rough financial situation. Her husband has really taken her for a lot of money, and so she has her 3 cats, and basically not a lot of working experience and a lot of things going for her. And so she has an interview at this art gallery where she is hired pretty much for her dream position to manage this art gallery, doing administrative tasks for the owner, as well as managing an antique store and a bunch of other things. And it quickly becomes obvious that there's more to than meets the eye. There's a cop that's hounding the owner about some missing and murdered women. It's just kind of a time. Reading it, you're very not knowing that it's a trilogy. I'm very confused on, did I not understand who the hero was? Did I misunderstand kind of the book, where the book was coming from? And so it was a 4 star. I read it on audio. There was also some quirky things with how it was written where you couldn't tell. Our heroine was kind of snarky, but we couldn't tell how much of that snark was inner dialogue versus actual dialogue with an external character because of how the audiobook was produced. So there were a couple of nitpicky things, so it ended up being a 4 star, but I really enjoyed it, and I do plan on picking up book number 2 at some point soon. Then I read Ice Planet Barbarians number 14, Barbarians Rescue. This is Warwick and Summer. So Summer's a bit of a chatterbox, and she gets stuck going to the fruit cave with Warwick to pick up fruit for the tribe. Some of the other characters were supposed to go with, but they bailed last minute. And so they're there, and they notice a ship come down to visit, and they're confused by this because there's not supposed to be any more people coming. And the tribe that's been at the part of the tribe that's been at the Elder Cave gets kidnapped. And so Warwick and Summer work together to free their fellow tribe mates. And it's just kind of fun. There's a lot of cute chess analogies in there, because Summer is she is also BIPOC. She is Asian descent, and so she was really into chess and kind of a science nerd, and so she talks a lot about chess analogies to help strategize to get to take back control of the spaceship and free her friends and the tribe mates. So this one was really cute. I really enjoyed it. It is a pure 5 stars. I know I changed the lighting, but I realized all of a sudden it was getting dark on me, so I changed the lighting. Sorry if this bugs you. So next, I went to Ice Planet Barbarians 15. I was in the middle of a new job, and so I really needed to pick something very easy. So I picked up Barbarians Tease. This is a one-night stand to friends to lovers, featuring Brooke and Taushen. And this was a 4-star. This is probably my least favorite to date Planet Barbarians book. I was really hoping for Brooke to be a little bit more understanding and a little bit more cognizant of the cultural gap between the barbarians and herself. She tried to play a lot of relationship games that just really don't work with this culture, and I feel like she was the only one who really like tried to do that, and she was very unclear in her communication. There was a lot of miscommunication, and at one point she's like, I don't want to be in a relationship with you, Taushen. Let's just be friends. And then later she's regretting the decision, and she doesn't have a conversation with. She tries to do sexual things like bathe each other to communicate that I want to surpass this friend's barrier. It was very frustrating as a reader to say y'all are both in the same spot and y'all aren't communicating, because Taushen is respecting the boundaries that Brooke has set in the past, and Brooke isn't communicating that things have changed. And so it was very, very frustrating for me. It was a 4-star read, but there was a lot of cute things happening in the background with the overall Ice Planet Barbarian plot that I did enjoy. So 4 stars. And then the last book that I read, I finished yesterday. It was an audiobook for Talk British to Me by Robin Bielman. This is a secret identity, friends to lovers, where our hero has a secret identity as a radio host for this kind of talk dating show that's giving dating advice. He has a personality, Bennett, that's British, that helps communicate mishaps in dating. And so our heroine, Teague, has just moved to LA, is working at a coffee shop, and kind of gets roped into a job as an assistant to a wedding planner. And she runs into our hero Mateo on a night out, and spills hot wings all over him. And they have an instant sexual attraction, but they both have been brokenhearted in the past, and so they are hesitant to get into a relationship. And even though they have this intense sexual attraction, they end up being friends first. And what was disappointing for me is that in Mateo's point of view, he can have a little bit too much of cocky arrogance, because he is this radio personality that gives advice to all of these people in LA. He kind of has a little bit of like, well, I can't, the girls just come to me and X, Y, and Z. And it felt very disingenuous, and it really kind of annoyed me, because I didn't see Teague with that type of person, and I don't want my romance hero to be like that. And I don't know how much of that was how the audiobook narrator chose to portray it. They were both kind of content to ride the middle ground for so long. There was points where Teague knew that Mateo wasn't interested in a relationship, and knew that she was a relationship type of person, and she just continued to kind of take Mateo's table scraps to a certain degree. And then Mateo was so adamant that he was against relationships, but he couldn't stay away from Teague, and it was an interesting dynamic that I didn't love. And so it was a 4-star read. It was just okay. And that is the end of my August reading plan, or what I've read in August. We'll see what I pick up in September, but if you haven't already, check out my September TBR. I have about 9 books that I'm interested in picking up for next month to be as good as this month. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and I hope you find a good book between now and the next time I talk with you.